What's up, fellow budget tone chasers, to one more video here in the channel. As you can see, I'm still not at home, so we're going for one more talking head video, and the idea for today is to treat a little bit about the ethics on cloning pedals, especially when it comes to the Chinese market. As you can see here in this video, we discussed a little bit about if it is really a scam by purchasing those really cheap pedals that are sold in China, and what is the reason behind to be able to get so affordable prices. But today we're going to get into a little bit more details, especially on what comes to copyright and the ethics of cloning the pedals. So before we enter to this topic, we need to understand a little bit about how the copyright actually applies to this type of market. So there are some things that you can actually protect by copyright and some things that doesn't make sense to protect by copyright. So when we think first of all about the circuit, that is maybe one of the most critical things when it comes to the sound of a pedal, a guitar pedal or whatever instrument pedal we're talking about, we're going to discover that majority of the pedals that are created every single year are actually clones or adaptations of former pedals or old circuits. So when it comes to the logic of cloning a circuit, it's really difficult to come to a point that you could protect your circuit or your development in terms of copyrights, because all the concepts that are used are actually really old concepts that are being applied in this market for years and years. And basically what the producers do is just change and tweak some of the parameters or the way that the technology is applied to get something a little bit more customized or with their own twist on the way that they are actually producing those pedals. This is pretty common when we talk about cloning amplifiers, or if we talk about making amplifiers inside a pedal, or if we talk about cloning drives, even in some cases if we think about analog modulations and things like that. When we come to the digital world, things gets a little bit more complicated, because then we have one additional factor that actually can be protected via copyright, so the algorithm of that specific pedal. And for this reason, it's really difficult for you to find clones of really big producers, like the case of Strymon, or even some cases like the Walrus Audio and other companies. They are not 100% protected, as we already saw recently by the case of the cloning of the POG algorithm that was done by Moore. But as we can see here, even for a Chinese producer like Moore, the law was strongly applied, and in this case the pedal that was cloning the POG needed to actually be out of production during several years, and nowadays they are back in the market, but no one knows if this is really the same algorithm that was applied. I believe that probably it's not. After this, we need to discuss a little bit about the trademarking, or let's say about the visuals of the pedal, because this is where really the things gets a little bit out of control when it comes to the Chinese market. I don't want to generalize that only Chineses are doing that, so I'll start using some examples of brands that are not Chinese brands. So if we think about Harley Benton, I can show you several examples where there is a clear inspiration on the original logotypes, or sometimes in the original design of the products that they're actually cloning. And those are actually products that leverage from the image of the original product to be able to sell their own product. This is something that in some specific cases can be considered already crossing the lines of what should be the copyright, or somehow the misusage of the brand of some third part. But Harley Benton is not taken as a company that is not ethical in a general way. If we take a look also on the Warm Audio, that I have just recently reviewed one pedal here in the channel, you can see that they basically work with one-to-one clones of the original pedals, and all of those are actually really close clones, including the visuals of the original ones. In some cases even keeping the proportions and leveraging from the original logos. So in this specific case, again, we're talking about an American company that is using the same type of strategy as majority of the Chinese brands uses. Some of you can tell that actually they are using the gray zone that exists in the law of the copyright, and I agree with you. It's not 100% black and white what can be used and what not, but it's a fact that lots of those products are leveraging from the image of the original ones. And now it's time for us to talk about the Chinese market itself. When we think about cloning of circuits, we have different Chinese players doing different strategies. But I think that the one that is the most annoying one would be in cases that we see something like this compared to something like this. As you can see here, it's not only the cloning of the circuit, but there is a clear falsification aspect here that the company actually leveraged not only from the sound and the circuit itself, but basically copies one-to-one what is the trademark of the original producer. In this case, we are talking even in some cases of copying the specific original logo, like you can see here in this case, and here in this case. So those are actually practices that some people actually would consider as a crime, and even in some legislation this could be considered as a crime. But in terms of practicalities, how much can we judge people that are buying those type of products? Because I think that this is the first question that you would do. Am I committing some crime by buying one of those products? And the answer is, as long as you don't know all the pedals that are available in the world, it's really difficult for you to know if you're really buying a fake product or if this is really original design. And more than that, we are not opening all the pedals that we have and don't have the possibility not even to open the original pedals to compare to see if the circuits and the components are actually that design. It's a one-to-one clone of the original ones. So when it comes to circuits itself, it's really difficult for us to be sure that we are buying something that is original or not. And when it comes to the trademark itself, we don't know all the brands in the world, so we'll never be able to know if we're infringing some specific law. But it's a fact that majority of those producers are being notified by the original makers, and sooner or later there will be some consequence if they are really not being able to swim in the same gray zone as we discussed before about Harley Benton and Warm Audio. I would like to use here as an example the case of the Cornerstone Gladio. As you can see, the first clone that appeared of the Cornerstone Gladio was actually made by Rock, and recently, less than 1 week, Demon FX just released their version of the Gladio. You can see that they already improved a little bit on what comes to this abuse of the trademark usage, so you are not seeing anymore the name Cornerstone there or the specific name of the pedal, but it's not so difficult to understand that we're talking basically about the same technology and the same pedal, just with a different casing. One thing that I don't understand is why those companies are not able to use the same strategy that other companies are using, like is the case of the Mower, the Flamma, or in some specific cases, even the Mosky. You're able to have really good clones that are really efficient on the way of selling, without using the trademarks from the original producers. Actually, in some cases, by using the trademark of another company, you are just being unethical and you are just making the clients be afraid of using or to buy because they think that they could be breaking some law. So in those cases, the companies are actually losing market instead of being able to receive more. But I would like to listen from you a little bit. My personal opinion, I don't believe that those companies are going to be able to harm the original producers, because the public that is buying a pedal that is a cheap budget pedal is not the same public that would buy a boutique pedal. But as we mentioned on the previous video, it's not the same to compare a local producer doing a clone for affordable local markets with a Chinese mass producer that is somehow trying to compete with a boutique company. The volume that the Chinese companies produces is able somehow to create much more noise and to call much more attention than a local producer, independently in which country we are talking about. So when we think about Demon FX and Rock companies, they have really strong possibilities at least to create some noise in the market. In my opinion, the best way to compete is to try to find alternative products, especially for those companies that have a little bit more high-ending products, and try to compete with those Chinese ones by offering affordable lines, like is the case of the GHS Series 3, or is the case of the Walrus Audio that they have the Fundamental Series. And we have many other companies like the UA and also the Wampler that just released their recent affordable series. As you can see, any Chinese company is actually cloning those ones because everybody would like to have the original one by an affordable price as long as it fits to the pocket. So instead of trying to fight about trademarks that we know that when it comes to Chinese market it's not that effective, the only way for you to compete is by trying to find a way to enter in the same market that they are playing. To finish, I would like to keep here one video of the Cornerstone founder telling a little bit about his perspective about this cloning of the Gladio. And this is important for you to see also the other side of the coin.
Pretty much every day I receive a message from someone on Instagram saying, hey, have you noticed this? And they send me screenshot of the Chinese copy of the Gladio. Of course I know it, of course, but there is nothing that I can do to prevent it. But let me say a couple of things. The first one is that it's very sad, not that the Chinese make copies, because China is famous to copy things. They've always done. The very sad thing is that people buy that. The very sad thing is that people don't actually realize that we are a small family company, that me, my wife, and the kids, we literally live out of our pedals. We made a great pedal, the Gladio, which became viral, but that just doesn't justify being copied and being counterfeited. I don't know. It's illegal to sell it. It's illegal to buy it. But first of all, let me say, people, if you want to buy a Gladio Double, which is now discontinued, but if you want to buy one, please don't buy a counterfeit one, because it's illegal, first of all, and because you're not actually supporting the good ones. They are trying to put our best in making the best pedal that we can.
So, I know that this is a polemic point, so please feel free to comment here, of course always respecting the opinion of the others. What do you think about it, okay? So, I hope this video was helpful to you somehow. I know that's not the standard type of video that we are doing here, but I believe that in the next week I'll be back home, so we're going to have lots of nice reviews. As you can see here, I have lots of new pedals that I would like to start reviewing, so we're going to have lots of good things coming soon. And I would like also to take this opportunity to share with you some brand news. So we are just releasing now the members area. If you want to support the channel to have a longer life, you can join the members group by clicking on join here down, and you're going to have access to some exclusive content. Like, for example, my DIY builds are going to be 100% recorded there, uncut videos of some tutorials of how to make your own maintenance on the instruments. I am also planning on having some customizations of pedals, that all the videos will be there with the tutorial step by step on how to do. We're going to have also some giveaways that are going to happen once we achieve some basic targets in terms of participation in the member group. And you're going to be able also to download some specific content exclusive for the members area, like some tone captures that we're going to do for the new multi-effects of MVAV, that is the Tank G, and many other materials related to affordable pedals. You can join the members area by clicking join below. As always, if this video was helpful to you somehow, please consider subscribing to the channel, sharing this video so we're going to have more people seeing our content, and I'll see you on the next. Keep on rocking!